Hey, hello everyone. It's Terry Bontis again. Looking forward to another great lesson. I really love the note business. And can you tell from my excitement, my enthusiasm, how much I really love the business? I hope you can see that. What I'm doing is I'm parting the curtain. I'm exposing you guys to all the aspects of the note business so that, again, you can learn more about the business, know more about it, because when you don't know what you're doing, that's when you lose. And that's the problem investors have, is they lose from what they don't know. And I'm just trying to expose you guys to how great this note business could be. And there's many moving pieces, and you have to know those pieces. So again, this is I'm going to be talking about the trustee sale today. Okay, and you got to know how to protect yourself at the trustee sale, because that's where you can be wiped out, again, by low bidding. And the whole purpose of a foreclosure auction is for investors to bid low. The lower the bid, the more money they make. So don't expect because you have a note, somebody's going to go there and bid the property up so that you can make your profit from your note. You must be prepared. You must know every single scenario. So let's take a look. Let me go through this and show you guys how I evaluate a note. Again, I do all this before I buy the note. I don't spend any money and then try to figure this out. That's how you lose. You got to know all of this information, then you buy the note. Okay, so let's talk about it now. When you're at the auction, the foreclosure auction, there's four main players in our case study, okay? There's four main players. There's the first lender, the second lender, the homeowner, and the real estate investor. And all of these people have money at stake. And as a note buyer, when you own that note, you got to know exactly how much each one of them are going to make. You got to know exactly what's going to happen to their situation. So let's get rolling here. Here's the way it stands. At the auction, we're going to say the first lender is foreclosing. The first lender is owed $140,000. That's what they're asking at the sale. That's what the crier is going to be bidding, is $140,000. No one shows up. No one showed up that day at the auction. So what happens to the money? Where does it go? What happens to the player? So the first lender, what's going to happen with them basically is they're going to take the property back as a what? That's right, an REO. The property goes back to the beneficiary as an REO. What they're going to do, they're going to sell it. They're going to make $90,000. Now, how do they make $90,000? They make $90,000 because, again, the property was worth $230,000, and that was market value. It holds true. I don't care what anybody says. 230 is the number. So they sold it for 230. They made $90,000. The first lender did. What happened to the second lender? Because the second lender didn't go to the auction to bid, they get what's called wiped out. They didn't show up. The bid was no one bid it. They get wiped out. They lose all of their money. How about the homeowner? Well, guess what? The homeowner loses their $50,000 of equity. Why? Because they didn't do anything. The first lender gave them plenty of notice. In California, they had 111 days minimum to figure out their foreclosure problem. Guess what? They didn't do anything. So the legal process says the first lender can foreclose, and that's exactly what they did. No one bid it. There was no money left over for the homeowner. Again, they lost $50,000 of equity. How about the real estate investor? That could be anybody. It could be you. If you would have known this property was going to sell that day, all you had to do was go and bid $140,001. But no one showed up, so guess what? As a real estate investor, that person, whoever it may be, lost $90,000 because they didn't show up at the property and bid. There you go. That's our first scenario. So, again, this is what happens to the four players based upon the fact that the opening bid was $140, no one showed up. Let's go to another scenario. Let's say, again, the first lender is foreclosing. An investor shows up and bids at the auction $160,000. So where does the money go? How do the players get paid? So let's do it again. Guess what? The first lender, because they were asking $140, someone bid it, they get their money. They get $140,000. They're done. They're out of the picture. Let's find out what happens to the second lender. Because there was an overbid of $20,000, that goes to the second lender. But remember now, the second lender was owed $40,000. They only got $20,000. It's not the best. It's not the worst. Again, in this situation, the second lender, because they didn't bid at the auction, they were only able to get what someone actually bid it, and that was $20,000. What about the homeowner? What happened to the homeowner situation? Guess what? There's no money left over for the homeowner. Homeowner loses, again, $50,000 of equity. Why? Because they didn't get involved with the process. A real estate investor, again, bought the property for $140,000. They bid $1. Let's just make it $140 to make it simple numbers. So they bid it at the auction, $140,000. They sold the house for $230,000. And again, you guys, don't fight me on this. I know you want to say, but Terry, we're not in a great market. That property wouldn't bid for $230,000 during the mortgage meltdown. I understand that. I'm aware of it, but I'm trying to show you guys the scenario in a great market what has happened. I also know what I would do in a bad market, but in order to keep you from being thoroughly confused, leave the numbers the way they are. This property was exactly worth $230,000. So again, that's what the real estate investor sold it for. They made $70,000 of profit. Let's go to my next scenario. My next scenario is, again, person that was foreclosing, an investor bid $200,000 for that property. Now, let's find out what happens to the players. Where did the money go? Who got what, and how was it all distributed? Because again, a lot of investors, when they go to auctions, they don't see all of this. A lot of investors don't even know what the foreclosure auction is all about. But because I'm a note buyer, I understand that I can foreclose. I understand I can go to the auction and bid. And if you're going to the auction to bid, you got to know what you're buying. Are you buying a second? Are you buying a first? What's going on at the auction? So again, the more knowledge you have, the more educated you are, the more professional of an investor you will be. And you must know this when you're going to auctions and you're buying notes. All right, so here we go. I'm getting all pumped up and juiced here. This is fun. Fun. All right, here we go. The first lender, what happens? They get what they were asking, which is $140,000. Pretty simple. Now, the second lender, guess what? They get the whole $40,000 that they were owed simply because an investor bid $200,000. So the difference between the first of $140,000 and the second getting their $40,000, there's still some money left over. Where does that go, you guys? Who gets that $20,000? Yes, it's the homeowner. The homeowner gets the $20,000 that was remaining. Now again, it's not the best, it's not the worst. The homeowner actually had how much equity? That's right, they had $50,000 of equity. But guess what? In the trustee sale scenario, I've told you guys, it's not the job of the investor bidding at the auction to bid that property as high as they can. They want to keep it as low as possible. And I want to tell you, in this scenario, again, the homeowner was owed $50,000, but they only got $20,000. Way it goes. That's the fair process. How about the real estate investor? The real estate investor, again, they bought it for $200,000, and I can tell you this, the reason why they probably bid it $200,000 because there was somebody else competitively bidding at the auction for them. Remember, the starting bid on the first was $140,000, and an investor will not jump to $200,000 unless somebody else competitively had them bid that property up. And they felt, that real estate investor felt that, hey, you know what? Even if I bid it $200,000, okay, I still can make a profit. So in this scenario, again, the investor sells the house for $230,000. They bought it for $200,000. They make a $30,000 profit. Okay. Now let's go to the next scenario, which is again the second lender now is able to have a foreclosure auction. I'm surprised. A lot of investors say, you know what? I didn't know the second could foreclose. Yes, the second has every single right of that of the first lender, of the first bank. Now, the second lender is going to have an opening bid of $50,000. Let me tell you why it's $50,000. Originally, the first was owed $40,000. But let's say in this scenario, what happened was the first lender, let's say they were going to foreclose, they were $10,000 behind in payments. Again, listen close. The first lender was $10,000 behind in payments. So what happened was the second lender sent $10,000 to the first lender to stop them from foreclosing, so that the second lender can now be in control of the situation and that the second lender could foreclose. The reason this happens is because the second lender believes that if they were to foreclose, they could control their destiny. Okay? They would be in a worse position by letting the first foreclose. So the second says, you know what? I'm going to send $10,000. I'm going to protect my interest, and then I'm going to foreclose, and I'm going to control the property. That's why it's done. So let's go through the scenario. $50,000 was what the second lender was asking at the auction. No one showed up. So what happens to the players? There's four players still that have money at stake. You got the first lender, the second lender, you got the homeowner, and the real estate investor. So what happens to the first lender? Can the second lender wipe out the first lender? No. The first lender, because they recorded their lien first and they are senior lien, they can never be wiped out by a junior lien holder, which is a second or third or fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, whatever it may be. So in this situation, somewhere along the lines, the first lender is going to get paid their $140,000. And Who's to know who it's going to come from? But if the first lender does not get paid in this situation, guess what they can do? They can come back and foreclose themselves. This is such a cool and unique way to look at real estate. It's so precise. So somewhere along the line, the first lender is going to get their $140,000. What happens to the second lender? Guess what? The property goes back to the beneficiary, which is the second lender, as an REO because no one showed up at the auction. The second lender gets the property. What do? They sell it. They sell it and they make $40,000, you guys. Now remember, they have to give the first the $140,000. They got $50,000 into it, so that's about $190,000. They're going to sell it for the $230,000. So there's $40,000 of actual profits left over. Now, again, it's real easy. Let me go back to this. The second lender, their true profit, their true gross profit is they paid the first lender $140,000. Okay? The second lender, if that was me and you that bought this note, remember we paid $10,000 to buy it. So that would be $150,000. Remember we had to send $10,000 to the first lender. So that's $160,000 total of debt, but we sell it for $230,000. So there's actually $70,000 of gross profit. Now, some of you might follow that. Some of you are so confused, but again, that's okay. I'm here to help you and answer those questions, okay? But again, this is not something that you learn in one single lesson by looking at my videos. You have to put the pieces together. You have to understand it. It's a scientific strategy. It's more precise than any other real estate investment tool that I've ever done is, again, notes. Okay, so what happens to the homeowner? Again, they lose their $50,000 because they didn't get involved with the process. What happens to the real estate investor? They lose $40,000 because they didn't show up and bid on the property. In this scenario, all the real estate investor had to do was bid $50,001. So again, here's what would happen if the real estate investor would have bought it for $51. All they had to do was pay off the first $140,000. They paid $50,000 for the note, so that's $190,000. They would have sold it for what? $230,000. You guys are getting it. Yoo-hoo! $230,000, and they would have sold it. They'd have had $40,000 of profit. Let's do one more. And if you're totally confused, you're going, man, that's why you need a coach. That's why you need me to help you work through this process. Let me tell you guys, if you're not doing notes, you're leaving money on the table. You really are. And a lot of people do not get involved in notes because they don't understand the business. But again, if you want to be a sophisticated, educated, professional investor, you must know about notes. If you're not doing notes, defaulted notes right now, man, let me tell you guys, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. You're probably leaving your retirement on the table. You're leaving your kids' college education on the table. You're leaving the money that can set you financially free by not knowing defaulted notes. All right, here's my last one. Again, the second lender, opening bid was $50,000. An investor bid at $60,000. Someone showed up and bid at $60,000. Let's talk about what happens to the players. Again, first lender, somewhere, some way, they're going to get their $140,000. And if they don't get paid, what they can do is what? That's right, they can foreclose. How about the second lender? They get the $50,000 that they were owed for the note. Okay, now there's some money left over, you guys, from this one. Again, the second was asking $50,000. Someone bid at $60,000. So that's $10,000 that's left over. Who gets it? Who gets it? Yes, follow my list and follow my order. Guess who gets it? The homeowner. Homeowner gets $10,000. Now that may be a lot for some homeowners simply because they don't have that 10. So 10 would be nice when they weren't looking to get anything. But to me, it's only a fifth. They were owed $50,000. It was only a fifth of what they truly deserve. And if you're a smart, sharp real estate investor like me, you would go to that homeowner and say, look, homeowner, you're going to get $10,000 in this situation. I can get you a lot more if you work with me. All right, here we go. Last person, we're going to talk about the real estate investor. Again, they bid at $60,000 at the auction. There's some money left over. The first has got to be paid, $140,000. They bid at $60,000. There's $30,000 of profit. There you go, you guys. That's what happens in a trustee sale under the case study that I've been working with on this system to teach you how buying notes works in the real world. Boy, I tell you, this one was fun. I got excited. My juices were flowing. I started thinking, man, I got to go out and do a deal. I got to find me a note because this is exciting. All right, you guys. Hey, I'll see you next lesson. Hey, wishing you success, health, happiness, prosperity, and a good day. Take care. Bye.